Without further ado, I'm very excited to introduce our next presenter. I've actually known this next presenter for over 20 years, and since he was a 9-year-old little boy at the Boys and Girls Club, rolling around in my office chair, playing on the phone, and telling people he was going to be a top executive one day. And many of you know, I'm sure he's no stranger to many of you, Chef Mike has become a local celebrity chef in our area. He's been on TV, radio, he's won numerous competitions, and he is the proprietor of numerous brands. He has Fins, which as many of us have frequented, just off of 32nd Street in Joplin. He also has Clark's Cuisine on the scene food truck, which many of you have seen at Third Thursday or various events. And he also has Clark's Catering, which is his personal catering side to his business. He's going to share with you what makes him different, what separates him, and what his challenges are. Please welcome Chef Mike today. Thank you.
Thank you. Man, I should just go ahead and let you do this for me, JD. You just kind of killed that. So for those of you who do not know who I am, I'm Chef Mike Clark. I grew up here in the Joplin area. I've been living here since I was 9 years old. And so it's hard to tell you about the brand without telling you where I come from and how kind of it all got started, which I'll kind of get into a little bit more about how the business got started later on in my presentation. But I do have a wife, and I have 3 kiddos, which are near and dear to my heart. And that's kind of how I got started on this whole journey is my wife and I, we knew we wanted to have kids of our own, and it's kind of been a struggle for us. And all of a sudden one day our pastors come up to us and they're like, hey, there's these 2 boys and they go to Webb City, and they really need a foster home. And I was like, at first I said no right off the bat. I was like, no, we're too young. We got this going on. I don't know if we're ready. And my wife was like, no, we need to do it. So at the time she was running an in-home daycare, and I was still kind of working jobs here and there. And then all of a sudden she's like, no, we need to do this. So we made the phone call. We brought those boys into our home, and shortly after we're kind of on a goal to adopt them, and then they had a little sister that came along in the process, and we were able to kind of adopt all 3 at once. And that's how this all got started, because I was working for a local school district down in Neosho. I was a behavior coordinator, and I was missing work and trying to do that. And I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna go back to cooking, but if I'm gonna go back to cooking, I'm gonna do it for myself, because I was just getting really, really burnt out, right? It's a hard industry. And so with that being said, I started catering some events. I connected with JD, and I told him what my vision was, and he got me connected around the community with B&I. I started using the farmer's market kitchen, then I kind of grew out of that, and I started using this kitchen in this facility actually, and then I moved on to getting linked up with my business partner. So I started as Clark's Catering right before I got into my partnership, and I literally was just trying to do everything I could to impact, to connect with my passion and serve people food. And then I realized that owning a business is more than just food. You have to know numbers, and you have to have great trainings, and you have to people have to know what's inside of your head. And I was like, oh, this is kind of new. I'm kind of used to throwing things around and getting things done, but Clark's Cuisine was born a little over 4 years ago as we transferred from Clark's Catering. And my mission is simply Clark's Cuisine exists to serve great food with exceptional service, and strives to meet the needs of people while serving our community. I have a heart, I have a passion to serve, to give back, and I still do that as much as I possibly can. And so Clark's Cuisine is the umbrella, and I want to answer a few questions right now, because everyone's like, okay, I see Clark's Cuisine over here, I see the Emerson over here, I see what we had Finellas in Carl Junction, that is no longer, and I'll tell you why here in a little bit throughout the rest of this presentation. But we had all of these different things going on, and I'm telling you, we failed. So that was, we had way too many brands, and so now we're trying to hone it in and bring in brand recognition. So everything's going under the Finn's name for the most part. So Clark's Cuisine is myself. I'm Chef Mike Clark. That's the umbrella, and then out of that I have entities, and so I have Finn's Catering, formerly Clark's Cuisine Catering. We're a catering company. We cater on-site and off-site caterings. We average around 1,600 caterings per year. Of course, with the whole COVID, that dipped down, but we're rapidly seeing that number climb, and so we're probably actually on track to beat that number this year, which is crazy. We do caterings anywhere from 10 to 500 events. We do take-home meals and also executive chef meals where I or one of my cooks will come into your house for a private event. We'll do a nice plated, coursed out meal for you from start to finish, and you don't have to worry about it, but you can still stay in your own home. So we do a lot of that on our catering side. Of course, Finn's is 2707 East 32nd Street. It's right across from the Homewood Suites. Many of you have been there or seen it, but it's a semi-fine dining restaurant. It's a steakhouse with a southern chic, serving up different kinds of things. Like my spring and summer menu will come out where we have deep fried baby back ribs over cheesy bacon grits with a dollop of bacon jam, and so just bringing home all of your nostalgic food that you grew up eating, and I try to put a different spin on it. But I want it to feel like like a southern style. You feel welcome when you're in there. It feels like family, and you feel like you're having a nice meal around the table with friends. We do handcrafted cocktails there. Like I said, unique dishes, fusion-inspired smoked meats and entrees, and then of course we have the outdoor patio with the fire pits, as well as our new lounge area, which is in our main dining room now. We just put that in. It was complete mid-January. And then Clark's Cuisine on the scene is the food truck. It's a 26-foot food trailer serving up real pit barbecue. We use that more for private parties and custom events. I don't really, I'm not the food truck that goes and sits out just because I have so much going on, and until I can find an actual operator for the food truck and someone that I trust to carry the brand out and about, I've kind of pulled the food truck back to just private events such as Third Thursday, Food Truck Friday. If we're doing a house catering or a house event or somewhere that has very limited space, then I'll take it out, and it helps us with catering. So it is a nice addition to the operation. So a little bit more about Finn's Catering. Finn's Catering is a catering company that specializes in fresh food with unique handcrafted spins on old favorites. From weddings to drop-off events to corporate events, we have the ability to do buffet-style meals as well as plated-style meals. Again, the food truck really helps out with the plated-style meals that we do, but this is kind of the quality that we do. I mean, I try to keep it as simple, as fresh as possible, try to get things as local as possible that I can. So, you'll see me out and about at the farmer's market. I try to get a lot of stuff locally sourced. Even from our food suppliers, I'm always asking for locally sourced stuff, just so we can continue to support local and do our part as well. The Clark's Chop has been written in over 3 or 4 different local magazines. Also, the bar inside of Finn's is more of like a, we've been told it kind of gives off the feel of like a cigar, hidden speakeasy type place. It's really intimate, a really nice place to relax and hang out. And of course the warm fireplace, outdoor patios, everything is perfect for small gatherings, for get-togethers, to hang out. We can do large parties as well, and it's also nice that anybody that has requested to social distance or anything like that, we're able to do that because we do have such a large facility. It's really nice to do. But overall, I tell my team all the time, if we continue to strive on quality and we continue to do our part to take care of our guests, then everything else will fall in place. And I think in the beginning, that was probably my biggest problem, is trying to do things a certain way, or trying to do things the way the guy down the street is doing it, and trying to figure out what everyone else is doing. But once I kind of relaxed and was like, hey, this is my vision. This is what I feel like we need to do. It all boils down to quality. So the quality of ingredients that we use, the quality of the food preparation, and how things are prepared, making sure everything is made from scratch and not out of a box or not frozen out of a bag, is big time. And then the quality of service. Service was a huge struggle for me whenever I opened my doors, trying to lead the back of the house and then lead the front of the house. It's like, oh, hey, I've been a server, I've been a certified trainer, I can do all of these things. No, I can't. So it was, I mean, we honestly, the first year and a half of business, and some of you may have eaten at Finn's the first year, it was not the best experience. Every time someone's like, we ate at Finn's, I'm like, okay, how was it? You know, turn really slow. How was it? How was your experience? And so we just really worked on just getting things right, and the people that you have around you and the team that you have around you is so important. And so the service is a huge thing that we will never ever compromise on ever again. So I have a general rule now, is we give people 3 weeks. It takes one person to disrupt the culture of your organization, and we work really, really, really hard to get where we are, and to make sure the level of service is good. We try to be as transparent as possible. If something didn't come out the right way, I tell my managers, we're going to go up to the table, we're going to hit it on, we're going to be transparent. We're not going to say, this and that. I try to teach my servers to take ownership. If you forgot to put something in, just let your table know. We're going to make it right. I'm going to have your back. I just need you to be as transparent as possible with the guests, because they deserve that. And so quality of service is really, really big. And we focus on training as well. So CD management, they take care of all of our training. So I can literally send them, hey, this is what I want in a training. They build that training for us, and then I constantly put my staff through an ongoing training, which is not really common at all in the restaurant business. So I'm trying to constantly invest into my staff as well. So the question is, how did all of this start, right? This started in my backyard with a smoker. It started me knowing that I was too stretched thin to constantly go back and forth between the school. And so I started catering some weddings. And then JD actually called me up and he said, hey, the Boys and Girls Club, they really would like you to do something in silent auction. I said, okay. Well, at this time, I'm completely broke. I'm like, all right, so how do I do that? And he's like, I don't know, just do like an in-house chef package or something. Like, it would be really cool. So I said, okay, let's do that. So I told him that I'd go to someone's house. Well, the package ended up getting bidded on. It was like one of the #1 prize tickets for the silent auction that day. I was able to go into the home of some people that invested in that package, and little known, at the table that I was serving is now my partner and investor. And shortly after leaving there, about 3 weeks later, he called me up. He said, hey, why don't you come down and talk about a few things? So went down, talked about it, let about 3 months go by, seeked as much wise counsel as I could. Felt like a good move, because at this point I felt like I was getting offered somebody that wanted to invest about every other month at this point. But this one felt like the right move. It felt like we were equally yoked. It felt like we had the same vision overall. And so we're like, okay, let's go for it. And so we started off with the catering company. Then shortly after that, we were like, okay, well, we need to smoke meats. Well, the health department does not like you smoking meat in just a regular smoker, although it's toe behind. And then we noticed the tent and everything that they wanted us to do was kind of an eyesore to 32nd Street. So then comes the food truck. And then right after the food truck, we got an opportunity to go out to Carl Junction and open up a second restaurant. And so we opened up the Junction Cafe, all while Finn's was under the works as well. So I'm completely stretched really thin, and everybody in the room right now can know, well, that was your first mistake during that time. You grew way too quick, way too fast, and I did. So just recently I decided to, after COVID, we were trying to rebrand the Carl Junction location. I rebranded it as Italian, and it was up and down again. Trying to get staff out there, especially during this time, was not an easy challenge. And so you would train one set, and then they would leave. The turnover rate out there was just extremely high. And so where I was already having a hard time scaling the business, I had to pull back. And so we went ahead and made the decision to get rid of Finello's. And so now we are here with the 3 entities that you've seen at the beginning. And where we're at now as an organization, we're just going to continue to put everything, all of my efforts, everything we have, into continue to make Finn's great, pour into the catering, get the food truck to where it needs to be. And so sometimes you have to pull back in order to set yourself up for later. And one thing that I am really, really stern about and passionate about, I guess I should say, is the brand. And so I didn't want hiccups out in Carl Junction because we couldn't manage it and we couldn't get the staff to go and to affect our overall brand, or people, like, by the time we actually started getting busy, it's turned into a destination restaurant. And I set my team down. I said, okay, well, now we have a decision to make. Where do we want to go from here? And it was pretty unanimous that everyone was getting pretty burnt out, getting really tired. And I was like, okay, if I can't have your very best, and if we can't do it with excellence, then we need to pull back. And that's the decision we made. And honestly, it has been a great one up to the day, but there's still some challenges, right? So we've grown over 150% in the past year, and that growth is continual. And it's insane if you look at our numbers, and this is pre-COVID. So even coming back after COVID, we're just getting busier and busier. People definitely are wanting to get out more. We've remodeled, just as the last picture shown. This is a remodel to our patio. This is a remodel to our Finn side, so trying to make it more of a cozy environment, both inside and outside, and try and make for some good summer and fall nights as well. But with that kind of growth, going from being, like I mentioned earlier, a follower in the industry, I guess my question for you guys is, when you start becoming a leader, what are some things that you have done to maintain that position? Because it's real easy to kind of be the person that's like, okay, we can do this, but whenever you feel like you're in the position to where you're creating the trends, when you're in the position to where you feel like you're creating the standard for the industry and the market, that can get really hard. So how do you maintain that? And I think that's questions that I'm asking myself every day, as well as scaling my business. It's growing so fast, so quick, and honestly, even myself, members on my team, we expected a growth, especially after things open back up after COVID, but the level that it's growing, it definitely gets hard. It's either I'm understaffed or I'm overstaffed all of the time. And then communication to my lower level employees. Sometimes I feel like maybe the buck stops whenever I'm trying to communicate with my mid-level management. So I've got to figure out, is that a me thing? Is it the way I'm communicating to my team? Or is it, do I not have enough structure on my mid-level to get some of the things communicated, as to, like, whenever I roll out a new menu, I roll out new recipes, I roll out, pets on the patio, different things that we have coming up. That's a big challenge. And then the last one is balance. Obviously, my why behind this all is my family. I'm very passionate about my family. I still serve within my church, and trying to find that balance as a business owner. Am I there too much? Am I there not enough? So those are some of the things that I have that I'm hoping that maybe you can help me out with as we continue to grow.
Some open questions. Doug Hunt?
Not so much a question. I want to pay you a compliment. Just now you said, what do you do when you start becoming a leader? I want to challenge you to think of the fact that you are a leader already, because everything you've presented is so powerful. But the thing that stuck out to me is when you're giving your presentation, you said, quote, "It takes one person to disrupt the culture." The fact that you are self-aware of that as such a new business is why you're a leader, and you will continue to grow.
Wow.
So, and even though you're experiencing massive growth, you know, as long as you're analyzing what you're doing and you control that growth so that it doesn't encroach on your family time, you'll be fine. And for those people that you can't get to, they're going to appreciate that and respect that. And when you can get to them, they'll still be your customer. That's,
Thank you.
You're in the right spot.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
More questions and comments? Yep.
Hey, Chef Mike. One of the things that you also said is like closing out Finello's was probably one of the better decisions that you made, because you and I have had these conversations and been very open about experiences. And I think when you look at, you'd rather be a master at a few things than mediocre at best at a lot of things, right? And so going back to that brand, you know, we talk about culture, back of house, front of house, you know, that consistent training. Do you have a consistent level of training with the front of house as you do back of house? So when people do come in and they have that management, everybody's on the same page, number one. And then number two, you said something about rolling out menu side of things. How do you roll out your menu? How do you roll that out? Is that something where you plan that event through the year? You know when that's in? You have like a month before you roll out, you're sitting down and having them try everything so they know how to talk about it and be excited about it? Like, where is that for you?
Yeah, so really good questions, actually. I try to be at least 6 months ahead of the curve. So like right now, I'm already working on my winter menus, recipes, everything like that. So I try to be at least 2 or 3 months ahead of the curve. So 6 months in, 6 months out, I start working on what I want to roll out. About 3 months out before we actually roll it out, I'm doing the recipes, I'm making the builds, I'm writing out the builds, and then I start training on those about a month out. That way it sticks and they can retain it. I've done it to where I did it too soon, and then they're like, oh yeah, we kind of forgot about that. There's still a challenge there for me because I feel like right before I'm rolling out, like I spent all this time being prepared about it, and then it still seems really rushed sometimes. And it still seems like sometimes my employees, my team have to catch up just a little bit, but maybe I need to figure out how to release it a little bit sooner so they're a little bit more knowledgeable on it. And as far as the training, yes, we are doing ongoing trainings. We're nowhere near done yet in the scope of my plan. In the next 10 years, I would like to be a true Michelin 5-star restaurant for the Joplin area, but we still have a lot of things that we have to knock off of that list to become that. So training is definitely a big thing.
So I love everything you guys are doing. Your restaurant's awesome, but I do tell a lot of people about fins, and there's still a lot of people who have no clue who fins is, never heard of it, don't know where it's at. So that might be something to address in your advertising. The second question is I've heard a lot of restaurants right now saying we can't find people to work. So how are you addressing that?
So yeah, it's definitely a big issue. So as far as people not knowing where we are, that's still something we're still constantly trying to get the word out and get people to leave reviews and leave comments that they know. But we still know that there is a huge untapped market, which is why another one of the reasons that we got rid of the other location is because we knew that Fins is nowhere near really on scratching the surface yet. I mean, by Thursday night, if you don't have a reservation, we're booked. As far as the staffing, and that's for the weekend generally. So, I mean, we start filling up really quick for the weekend. And then as far as the staffing issue, we're definitely filling it. But because I was able to shut that restaurant down, I brought staff over, and that really helped pad the blow. So I was able to take loyal employees from this other location, bring them over, get them trained, and get them integrated. Right now, I think the biggest staffing issues that we have right now is on the catering side because they're still so sporadic. So I don't want to hire anybody and bring them in just for caterings and then just like, oh, well, this week we have 4, this week we have 2, this week we have, it's still kind of all over the place. So I really need to get the caterings up to where we're doing multiple a day and I can have an even staff just for that entity. So that's probably where I'm feeling it the most at.
So
I used to work in the restaurant industry a long time ago and knew better to get into it. There's a lot of ways money can walk out the door and things along that line. Holding turnover is a big thing. Have you ever considered setting up kind of a model where you relate to your employees, get them buy-in, but get them return? So, let them know that, hey, if we can keep loss down and food loss, bar loss, shrinkage or whatever, at a certain level a month, if we can have certain satisfaction recognition from our customers, if we can get our average ticket size up to this level, that you would return to them, a bonus each month or something along that line, get them to buy into it so that they're not turning it over, and so that you're reducing that turnover. And then there was another point to it, and it totally escaped my mind, but have you ever, and then last week, there was actually Dr. Shepard came and did a presentation. He has a really neat, he's a free market physician is what he's called, and he offers healthcare at X number of dollars. It's a reasonable cost for unlimited visits and everything. Maybe look at partnering with him and splitting the cost with your employee to give your employees healthcare, because I'm sure that's something that's hard for a restaurant to be able to do.
Yeah, really tough actually, and it's funny because we actually are going to be working with the Free Market Physician Group and offering some different things to our employees. So that's super exciting. And then as far as your first question, we have not really rolled out a bonus program yet. Back in January, I really started talking about it, but I have not been able to set up the structure yet. So if anyone has experience in that and would love to sit down and do a cup of coffee in the morning or something, I would love to hear some ideas on how you structure a healthy bonus program, because that is one of my fears is because I'm operating at I'm requiring a lot of my employees. Nonetheless, I mean, it is a taxing job. It's a hard industry to work in, and so I always want to make sure that they feel valued. But yes, theft is a really big thing in the restaurant industry. I mean, we have several cameras, and we go back and watch all of those, and we take daily inventory, and I'm really watching that closely. Like when I come in the morning, I'm grabbing the clipboard to go back to look at our daily inventory, make sure all of our fillets are still on the shelves, make sure all of our steaks are still there, because those are things that will walk out, sadly, unfortunately, very easily if you don't watch it. So, but I would love to talk to you about, a bonus program or some things that maybe you've done in the past when you're in the industry.
So it's funny that you brought that up. I was going to mention there's a restaurant chain in Tulsa called Andolini's Pizza.
Yeah.
Mike Bosch is the owner. I used to have a pizza food truck, so I still follow the industry there. Mike has talked a lot about, in his teachings, about employee retention, and that exact program is what took them from nothing to everything. And so they have a restaurant average ticket, and then every server that performs over that average ticket, they base their commission structure upon that difference, on that split. And so they're pretty local. That would be a good contact if you want to learn more about that. He's very accessible online, but he's happy to talk in detail about how their program works. But they're scaling with that. Their retention is a lot higher than the industry average because their compensation package is a lot better.
Wow.
The other thing I wanted to bring up that you should look into, Gino Wickman has a book called Traction. He's the creator of the Entrepreneur's Operating System. He has a concept in there that talks about splitting roles between the visionary and the integrator. Those are the two people at the very top of your complete structure of your company. It sounds like you're doing both right now. I would challenge you to decide, do you want to be responsible for integrating these ideas, or do you want to be the one that's creating the vision for the company? And I would segment that out and find that second person to help you. I think that will create a lot more balance in what you're trying to do.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
More questions or comments for Chef Mike?
I just want to echo a great commenter here, because I'm sitting here listening. I love your passion, but I'm concerned that you're trying to do too many things yourself.
Yeah.
You got to make some decisions on where you see yourself in the picture. You see yourself as a chef? Do you see yourself as an executive chef? Do you see yourself being managing the business? There's really 2 or 3 areas there, and I'm concerned right now you're trying to do everything, and the problem with that, you're going to get frustrated at some point and say, is it worth it? So you really need to find somebody to help you with your long-term goals.
Chef Mike, have you actually gone down through like every part or every piece of your business or every employable spot in your business and wrote out a job description for each thing?
I have actually. I do. I actually have an org chart and job descriptions for each job.
And so, to Bob's point, how many of those is Chef
I'm
Mike?
filling like 6 boxes right now.
Okay, all right. And so that becomes the question of, right? Because, like, I commend everything that you're doing. I mean, being in the restaurant industry before and managing like COVID this last year has really, I mean, it's been crazy, right? So the fact that you guys are still standing and around and doing that's awesome. So really, from there and this growth that you're seeing, how are you taking that and turning that into eliminating or filling those positions and finding those key people?
That's a great question. I haven't figured that one out yet. So honestly, you guys really nailed it. I mean, I'm filling a lot of those positions, and a part of it is because I have trouble letting go of that control. It's like I want every dish to be perfect, but I also want to be represented well, but I also want to be, so it's almost like I jump in too much, and a part of that may be still that continue that, you know, we're being hot right now, right? Honest, open, and transparent. A part of that is probably the small part of insecurity that maybe I have on, hey, I'm a business owner, I have to do this much. Hey, I'm the executive chef, I have to do this much. And it probably stretches me too thin to where I do need to sit down and really figure out how I'm gonna really structure this thing moving forward, so.
Awesome. Let's give Chef Mike a hand this morning.
Thank you so much.
Want to encourage